So you've adopted a particularly anti-Trump stance. Why?
Do you know what it is? We are living in a time where politics is quite fueled with hate and fear, and I think the last thing we want is a world leader like Donald Trump, who is a racist, who is a misogynist, who is a homophobe, us rolling the red carpet out for him, because everything, what that means is we're legitimising everything he stands for, to be honest. And I think as a country, that's not what we kind of stand for.
OK, well, John, on the other side of this, you obviously knew a lot about Trump already. You'd heard all of this from various people, but you wanted to do your own research on the man and find out for yourself. So what did you discover about him?
Well, I've been a political analyst for many years, and I knew within 3 hours of him announcing his candidacy at Trump Tower that he would be elected. And so I decided to take the time to actually get to know him personally and to get to know the people that work around him. And what I discovered was completely the opposite. And my thing is I've seen whole nations go in the wrong direction because of false information about somebody or about a group. And so I decided to find out, well, were these accusations actually true? And I found out from meeting hundreds of people that work around him, from meeting him personally, from meeting his family, that they are, in fact, a falsehood.
You were the third person after Nigel Farage and Theresa May to meet him, sort of face-to-face with him and the First Lady, third Brit. And so how long was you meeting?
Well, it was a few minutes, but it was long enough to get a very good measure of the man and, of course, of the First Lady.
How many minutes?
I would say at least 10.
So 10 minutes to get to know the president who has spent... I mean, it takes us that long a day to read his tweets, which are, you know, often incendiary and undiplomatic and certainly offensive, and on many respects to the points that Magid has just made.
Well, I think what you're perhaps not taking into account is the time that I spent meeting many executives that work over there. I spent a lot of time in Washington and in the United States.
But the Fire and Fury book, which is a fascinating read, I've read that cover to cover, and that's also those people that work with him, that work around him, and that is an entirely different view to the one that you're painting.
Yes, it is. I think what we forget is that Donald Trump walked into a Washington that did not want him elected. And I think one of the things that perhaps we forget is that Washington is probably one of the most corrupt political environments in the world. It is a pay-for-play culture. Now, he basically put Washington on notice that those politicians that have had their snouts in the trough and have basically been pickpocketing the American taxpayer for years were no longer going to get away with it. So, of course, the first people that attack you when you do that are the criminals.
OK, all right, well, Magid, let's come to you. I mean, he was... we always knew that he was eventually at some point going to come here, despite people trying to stop him. Why do you think... Because you say that he doesn't represent America, actually.
Just touching up on what he was saying, I appreciate you've met him a couple of times, but I think you don't have to meet Donald Trump to get a good understanding of him. You can see what his policies are. He's locking up innocent children, separating their parents away from them in cages. He's stupidly, in my opinion, left the Paris Agreement. And I think we can get a good grasp of who he is because of what he says, what his policies are.
Do you think then by coming here we're in some way sort of legitimising those policies?
100%, because what it is, by us, first of all, I'm really proud to represent Sheffield. Sheffield is known as the first city of sanctuary. Youngest mayor. City of sanctuary. We've got, even not just Sheffield, the country, we've got we welcome people from all walks of life. But by us saying, do you know what, Donald, you can come here, we will roll the red carpet out for you. But even more than what I find completely embarrassing is our Prime Minister is making him shake the Queen's hand. The same hand he prides himself in grabbing women by the genitals with. And I'm like, is this what we want in a country? We want someone like him that represents everything.
Her Majesty, I'm pretty sure, can cope with that. I mean, she's shaken the hands of people far worse.
I'm sure she has.
During the course of
I'm sure she has.
What about our special relationship? Because he's left summits, he's left countries, and he's shaken hands and smiled warmly as he's got on Air Force One, and then he's tweeted something horrible and undiplomatic once he's been sat on the plane.
Well, I think actually that was the Canadian Premier that did that.
What is the point of this trip? Why is he here? Because we already know about the trade cost. We know that he's going to impose far greater taxes on us. It doesn't look like there's any special relationship whatsoever. What's the point in him being here?
Peace. Donald Trump is the greatest peacemaker that this world has ever seen. take a look at North Korea. There's no way that that meeting would ever have occurred. And what was very interesting, I actually had a North Korean delegation come to Camelot Castle in Cornwall to ask me to explain the cancellation letter. The fact of the matter is, what he's doing is he's getting people to confront the things in society that are broken and that need to be fixed and that should have been fixed years ago.
OK, Magid, at the beginning of that, you were laughing there when he said he brought about peace. What made you laugh when he said that?
Because I think Donald Trump and everything he stands for, like, he's pulled out the Paris Climate Agreement. He tweets, like, he retweeted Britain First. He said there's no-go areas in the UK. And all he does is stoke divisions within communities.
If you look at this, and by the end of 2017, rebound in the economic confidence was at a 17-year high. Unemployment hit 3.9%, lowest rate in a century. At this point, and every American who wants a job can find one. I mean, you can't argue with that, can you?
Well, also, what he said about...
It's not trying to argue with anything. Of course, I'm not saying he would have achieved something. Look at, like, Hitler achieved, like, I think built the subway, like the motorways in Germany. And that was a good thing.
To Hitler?
You can say there's some similarities between Donald Trump and Hitler, but it's, as what I'm trying to get at is, for somebody that represents his values, it's not something we want to welcome into the country and, more importantly, just roll the red carpet out for.